information chapter is slightly different. This is always cool for me to talk about because this is what I used to do. This was kind of like my responsibility. I did purchasing for the school. I bought the computers. I financed the computers. I financed our networks. I was responsible for all of the IT, which was great for me. But it didn't increase my interest in computers like the district wanted it to. It increased my interest in finance because I was shocked at the different ways that the bidding system happened, the different types of computers that you could buy and you could purchase. Let me give you a life lesson from what I learned. If you're buying in bulk, buy Dell. I know that Dell isn't as high of quality as some of the other ones, but if you're buying in bulk, you will get the biggest discount, and that has not changed on Dell than you will any other brands, and that's across the United States. And software, you buy the full Microsoft package. They're going to present you with two different options, and they still do this. They're going to give you Office 365, or they're going to give you a second Office package. You are better off taking the second, which is full, because it adds access and it adds publisher. It's worth the extra $10 license site fee that you will spend to get publisher and access. I doubt your students, even your seniors, will ever use access. Only the ones that are doing like Visual Basic programming might, or even C. But I mean, how many of you actually are still doing C+ in your districts? Anybody? I don't think so, but I'm sure you're still doing Visual Basic. Having publisher access is phenomenal, and it really gives the classroom teacher the opportunity to have access to a cool software that's very artistic. So here's my 2 computer tips before I go anywhere. Number 1, if you're buying in bulk, Dell is always cheaper. The more you buy, the cheaper you get. And when you buy the Microsoft Site license, you're better off with the full Office license than you are with the 365 license. It's worth the extra $10. You're going to get more for your students, and you're also going to get more technical support. So in most districts, and this is the case in this state too, the technology director has 100% autonomy on the purchases and the upgrades. They justify it to the superintendent. Most of the time, the superintendent really does not know how much money technology costs. They don't. The other thing that always used to bother me were the teachers that said, I wanted a smart board. How many of you have teachers that want a smart board in your building? Do they actually use the smart board, or is it a glorified projector? I mean, it's true. It's true. So I could spend, a beautiful $40 on this nice, beautiful whiteboard and project onto here, or I could buy a smart board in bulk for what was it, like 3 years ago? They were $229 for one if I bought 10 of them. So they were $229 per unit. So if they're not going to actually use it for the smart board, I'm going to spend an extra, essentially $2,000 for something that's just going to be projected anyway. So think about that as a superintendent, and my advice to all of you guys is actually figure out what the teachers know and what they're able to do before you invest in a lot of technology. The other one that I like is the buzzer technology. But who did that in our spring class? Actually did it with the cell phones.
Margaret's clicker thing?
Yes, yeah, but she did it with the cell phones, and that was great because that wouldn't cost the district any money. I think like anything you can save the district money, that's good. So I cut this, and a lot of this is more Lou than it is Guthrie, because this is just stuff over my years of experience, because this is what I was doing. So I believe that technology decisions have to be made with the district in mind in long-term strategic planning. You give your most expensive technologies to the high school. You do not give them to the elementary schools. If you're giving your technologies to the elementary schools, that's going to cause a massive problem, because if those kids get used to it in elementary school and they don't have access to it in middle and high school, it causes a disconnect with the kid. But I also think, the same deal. Your technology, your smartest technology people need to be centralized and based at the high school, and they need to be outsourced out to the elementary buildings. It will save you a lot of cost, and it will save you a lot in terms of just technical support. The one other thing that the book suggests that I agree with is you need to have somebody on call 24/7 with technology. One of the issues and challenges that I ran into, I taught AP Computer Science, and we did Java programming. I was teaching right when Napster was a hot item, and it had just gotten shut down. So I had a glorious student who I still love to this date, that is a wonderful human being who Kira had the pleasure of meeting, who decided that he was going to upload music files and create his own Napster on the district website. And he did it through hacking into the district website, and he did a beautiful job of doing this. And it was well run and it was well organized, and the district actually hired him to run their technology system over the summer because they didn't know what he had done. He knew more than the district coordinator. He knew more than me He was a computer programmer. Ironically, he found out that he could make more money in finance than he could in IT, so he switched to finance, which was a very, very, very smart move on his part. So the district needed a 24-hour response service because as soon as he did it, everybody was able to download and access files. Then that gets into copyright restrictions, that gets into law. Should the district be held accountable? If you're caught, here's another legal precedent too. If a student is caught uploading music files, that isn't as bad as if they upload a movie file to the district server on an unreleased movie. If a student uploads an unreleased movie on a district file, you better give them a 10-day suspension or expulsion because that could cost the district up to $250,000 for a movie file if the movie is unreleased. Music files, honestly, I've never seen any more than a slap on the wrist. So there is a difference between a movie technology breach and a music one too. So
what if the kids are on their cell phones and they're logged into school Wi-Fi and they're watching an unreleased?
Yeah. And then if it's on the school Wi-Fi and it's streaming, the legal precedent says that the school is liable. Yeah. But here's the other legal thing in Oklahoma that's interesting. I decide one day, Toby, that I hate your guts and I'm going to post nasty things about you on Facebook. I do it at 8 p.m. while I'm not in the school. Can I be held liable for that? Criminally I can, but not civilly. The school can't get me for that. What if I did it while I was on the school Wi-Fi and went after you? They can get me. So that's the state thing that the state hasn't really stepped in on yet.
Isn't there something about if it causes disruption in the day, even if it was done at night?
Yes, but you have to prove it, you have to get them to admit to it, and you also have to give them remediation at the counseling level as well. So you have to have your guidance counselor or your building principal involved in it. And that is something that is so shades of gray right now. There really hasn't been a ruling on it. The thing that they say at the state level that is the safest thing is that if you do it during school hours, it is a slam dunk. If you don't do it during school hours, it might be a long legal fight that might not even be worthwhile. And in that case, I would honestly, cynical me, this is what I would do. I would have your guidance counselor involved and say we're doing something on bully prevention and try it that way instead of trying to go after it criminally or civilly. So, perfect question. Should the network be opened or accessed by the public? Should it be? Is this, what should you do? Should it be open community Wi-Fi? Tulsa does it.
If we're going to have a community schools model, then yes.
That is what the community schools model would say. So, that's a challenge. Because, should the network be open? Should you monitor what people do while they're on the network? Sure, I think you should. And I think you should have somebody who knows what they're doing actually doing it. Not just somebody who doesn't know what they're doing. I would love to go into Tulsa if I had the authorization and test things out and try stuff and see if I could get away with it and see if the district could actually catch me for doing it. If I had the freedom to do that in any of your buildings and anybody would sign something to let me do that, I would love to do that as a research study because I think it would be fascinating. See if somebody could come in and hack the network and break it. I feel confident that I could break most of the networks.
Why couldn't you just teach me and I'd go in and do it?
Well, because it would still be illegal. You would need permission.
It's illegal?
It's illegal.
It's public though.
It's public, but it's still illegal. Like if I hacked and I put, so-and-so principal sucks and I sprayed it on the webpage,
Yeah,
it was
that's
set to
true.
I could get in trouble for that. But I wonder how many of these systems can be broken. I think Tulsa's can be broken, honestly, because being in their school system, being on their Wi-Fi, I've never had a problem accessing anything. School internet is important. The other thing that you have to keep in mind, and this is, I'm going into law, but this is something that I experienced, and it was funny. How many of you remember GeoCities when you're making websites? I mean, we're talking like years ago, like, okay, taking you back. So what GeoCities would do, it was this genius model. So what they would do is they would follow your browsing history, and the ads that you got were related to your browsing history. That way they could sell people and give you free web space. So GeoCities also linked to porn sites. So we had a teacher in our district who obviously liked porn. And he had a GeoCities page that he had open to his students, and the ads changed regularly. They changed on a monthly basis. Those of you that had one of these, you remember what they looked like. Mine was always for like video games and wrestling, professional wrestling and concerts, but his was for, things that it shouldn't have been. And so his GeoCities page changed. So our district enacted a policy that said, all teacher websites must be done on district, on the inside local area network, and not even a wide access network. They would have to change the websites during school time. I can see teachers screaming over that, saying, that's not in my contract, why should I be doing this during the school day? So you have to determine that. You also have to determine if the firewall is actually a good firewall or not. I've seen firewalls that absolutely suck. And I will say this on record too. Anybody use BES? BES is horrible. BES is awful. It is a firewall system that goes to schools, and it's supposed to block things, but I find that it blocks things that are more like things that are good for schools than it does bad things. Like I couldn't access People Magazine or Time on BES because there was a comment section on the web page. So because there were comments, they didn't let you access it.
I used to not be able to access history sites because it had graphic
Pictures, yeah.
So like I did my senior thing on Adolf Hitler and I
Couldn't get anything.
Yeah.
What firewall did your district use? Do you remember? What firewalls are you guys using that are using them? Do you know?
Oh, I don't know what the new one is. The old one was, I can see it. I can see the big. Sophos.
Okay.
I know it's not too bad. It just got, if you happen to go to a site that had a keyword that it didn't like, it would
Yep.
kick you off. No matter how legitimate the search was.
Did they give the teachers permission over it?
You had
To
to call
change
it.
it.
You had to call IT.
And how long
We had
does
that
that
two
take?
trees thing for a while.
Two trees. That's
Two
what I was
trees.
thinking. That was the two trees.
Where they gave us permission, but then it would never work. Like a teacher would say, I want to use this site. And then we were supposed to be able to go in and release it if it was legitimate, but then it would never.
It would never release,
It would
then you would
never
have to do
release.
your own login to get it
It was
released.
complicated.
So email access. You need to train people to use email. You all know that. Email is technically district property, and all of you know that. If you were emailing me from your Oklahoma State account to my Oklahoma State account, the district doesn't have access to that. If you email me from your district account, the district does have access to anything that you send me in any correspondence. You, as a superintendent, you have the right to do that, especially if there's an investigation against somebody. Computers are seized and searched, email is seized and searched, and the teachers need to be aware of that too when they decide to use their email addresses. Liabilities. I mean, once again, a lot of this is like blue, not book, but I think this is all important stuff. I like wikis and I like bulletin boards and I like discussion boards, but I like them with teacher restrictions in K-12. I would encourage you guys to do that, meaning that the student posts, but you have to release their posts. If you can somehow convince your teaching staff to do that, that will be smart because they become read-only files, and then the teacher has to approve every single post by clicking on it. That'll prevent a lot of liability as well, especially if there's a flame war that goes on at like midnight, 1 a.m., 2 a.m. over a topic that you're discussing in class, and then you're sleeping, and then your teacher's dealing with it, your principal's doing it, then it's on the newspaper the next morning. All schools are supposed to receive discounted rates to the internet and computer software. That means that the districts that use it appropriately should have grant writers that know what they're doing, because the grant writers can actually write the E-rate subsidies, and this isn't bad. I mean, going through it, the more that you purchase, the better off you are. That's another thing if you're thinking about your strategic plan. If you know that your district can save $20 per unit by purchasing 1,000 computers, yet your district only needs 900 computers, why not just purchase the other 100 and shove them into storage somewhere? What's wrong with that? If you're going to get a flat rate and you're going to get a discounted rate based on per unit purchase, that's something you want to consider as well, especially with the tax break that comes with it. So the school business manager has all these responsibilities. We'll talk a little bit about each one of these as we go through it, but that's just a list for you. One of the things that they say that I think is important, 66% don't consider return on investment when purchasing technology. How long should a computer last you at a school? Shelf life of a PC, not a Mac. PC should last you how many years? And if it doesn't, you are doing something wrong at the building level.
5?
5 years. 5 years.
Yes.
How long should a Mac last you?
3?
Oh, no, max.
7? 9?
8 to 10. 8 to 10 years.
This one is 7.
7. That's that. That one's 7 minus 3. Or no, mine's 2.
Yeah.
Which yours?
3.
3. Yeah, and it's still going, right?
Oh yeah.
The
Yours
only
still
thing
going?
I've had to do with this is the
Battery.
ride, but it gets used constantly, so.
If you're the superintendent and your building principal is consistently requesting new computers, more than 5 years, that principal is doing something wrong. 5 years should be the turnaround for a computer, and about 8, 9, 10 for a Mac. In my dream world, everybody would just have Macs and life would be great, but you know that doesn't work that way. And most people aren't trained on what the computers can do anyway, so honestly, as long as they can access the internet and use Word, most of the times you're good. This is, my thing because, God, everybody wanted smart boards when I was making those purchases, and everybody had to have a smart board, and we just wanted a smart board in every classroom, and honestly, I had 2 or 3 teachers that used them. It was the dumbest, stupidest purchase that my district made. It was stupid, because every single classroom had to have a smart board, and then they'd advertise that. But what does it matter if the classroom has a smart board if the teacher doesn't know how to use the smart board? So did anybody do the smart board movement back in the day where every classroom had to have one? How much did it cost the district?
We kind of phased ours in.
Okay, but that's the smart way to do it. I would prefer a phase-in model, honestly. If I'm looking at this now, back knowing what I know now, I would pick your 1 or 2 brainy teachers in your building. I would have them use the smart boards, demonstrate them at things. When another teacher says, ooh, I want to do it, I would flip the classroom, have the other students come in and learn on the smart board. If the teacher adjusts to it, great. If the teacher doesn't adjust to it, I wouldn't do it. But I find that most people use the smart board as a glorified projector. It is not worth the investment.
When we first got them, ours were required to prove their competency.
Yeah, they had to go take the training
With the curriculum
class.
specialist, they had to go to training and
We
then
had
go
to.
through a little, which was great when we first got them, but now that we've had them,
Yeah.
now we've had this turnover.
Now you're grandfathered in, you get
Uh-huh.
hired, you're in a class with a smart board, and we talk about that in interviews all the time.
Yeah.
How are you on the smart board?
How are you?
But do they use them for what they're supposed to use them for?
Well, we've actually, because the bulbs and the projectors have started going out, we've started to go to big LCD TVs. They don't have the touchscreen capabilities, but because a lot of people just use them for projectors anyway.
I love it.
Or PowerPoints or whatever, it's just like that, exactly like that in classrooms. And teachers are getting the option. 'Cause
But
I'm
it
not-
still has the smart board software, so they can still do the stuff that they were doing.
Right,
The
they can
kids
still-
can't go up.
Can
and
touch it.
Right.
Yeah, so it takes away from the child manipulation. What's been your experience, Debbie?
Well, like I was in the classroom when the smart board movement came in, and we had to apply to get a smart
That's
board.
ours.
And so then they only chose like certain people from certain, like kindergarten, I was teaching kindergarten, so only 1 kindergarten teacher got it, or
Yeah.
maybe 2 first grade teachers. And then following that, we always had to fill out our surveys, how many times a day, how much, time a day are you actually using the smart board and stuff like that. But now I have a flat screen TV in my room, but I never use it.
You never use it?
It's just hanging there, beautiful. Kids love to come in and say, you got a flat screen TV. Yes,
Huh.
I do.
So I wonder about these costs, and I wonder if they're actually something, the cost of a flat screen TV, they're cheap now. I mean, they really are. You can buy,
Oh, yeah.
honestly, if you want to do something smart for the district, wait till Black Friday and just buy them for the district on Black Friday. You would save on per unit cost, especially if you can somehow convince a bunch of your teachers or community members to wait at Walmart for the guaranteed $200 television. You might be laughing, but if you get 100 people to do that, you spend it at a district cost. It's different than spending $300 or $400 per unit. You save the district money there. Possibility. Because Walmart does that. This is 2 years in a row now. They've done that guarantee. As long as you're in line, you get a television. And we showed up 3 minutes before the line closed. It was the smartest move that we made because they had to give us a better television because they didn't have the El Cheapo television. They had to actually give us, a Hisense. Hisense is like a $300-400 machine versus some random weird.
It's a smart TV.
Yeah, it's a smart TV too, and so that might be a consideration as well. So when you do technology, you have to make planning decisions that are long-term. In your strategic plan, I would love you to talk about technology, but that's just the geek in me that would like to see that. If that's not something you're not required to do in this class, but I would certainly love that. I'm interested in seeing how you would prepare to move your district forward for technology, what you would purchase, what it would look like, and how that would relate to the strategic plan, because it does relate to the strategic plan. Different buildings are going to need more technology, need more access as well. So this tends to be, my dissertation was on principal stress. This was one of the causes of principal stress. There were 7 things that principals really hated. This was one of them, was decisions made on technology that principals had no autonomy over. The district says, we're going with this building level system. We're going to have you use, the one that kept coming up in Pennsylvania was SASE XP for class attendance. Does anybody use that?
We had SASE.
You had SASE? Okay. So they were saying,
Programs ago.
yeah. This was, when I did the interviews, this was 2009, 2010, and like 3 principals cited SASE XP. They said the district bought it in bulk and said that every teacher had to use that for their class administration. They had to have pictures of the students taken, and that was the cool thing about Sassy. You could click on the cute little picture and drag it in and make